The wedding was just around the corner, but his fiancé, Akira Kurosawa, had suddenly lost her memory. She remembered everything and everyone, except for him. That day, Ren Fujiwara had obtained a medication that might restore her memory and went to see her, filled with hope. His hand had just touched the doorknob when he heard a familiar voice from inside the private room. "Akira, how did you even come up with faking amnesia? It's the perfect deception. Ren would never suspect a thing. How long are you planning to keep this up before you tell him the truth?" The laughter rooted Ren Fujiwara to the spot, the expression on his face freezing over. Akira Kurosawa was faking her amnesia. Then what about all his suffering these past days, the nights he'd spent crying until midnight over her condition? A chill rose from the soles of his feet, slowly spreading through his entire body as if he'd been plunged into an ice cellar. He clenched his jaw and listened to Akira's careless tone. "Let's give it another month. Then I'll go back to Ren's side and continue being a devoted and faithful girlfriend." Hearing this, her friends all wore expressions of astonishment. "Is a month really enough for you? Look how many guys you've played with already. Why not just break up with him? You've been with one boyfriend for 7 years without a change. No one in our circle is that devoted. Sneaking around with guys and putting on this whole amnesia act just so Ren won't get mad. Aren't you tired?" Faced with the barrage of teasing, the smile on Akira Kurosawa's face gradually faded. "I will never break up with Ren. He's the only one I love. It's just that we've been together for so long it's gotten a little stale. He's too reserved in bed, and I can't bear to push him. This time, let's just call it hitting the pause button for a little escape. When the month is over, I'll go back to his side and be his one and only." That's easy for you to say, but Ren isn't the type to tolerate betrayal. If he finds out the truth, he won't just swallow his anger. "Aren't you afraid he'll break up with you and leave?" a friend asked in a low voice. "Yeah, didn't the second son of the Ito family mess up? His girlfriend fled the country, and he's still chasing after her like a madman," another friend added. Although everyone spoke with grave certainty, Akira Kurosawa paid them no mind. She swirled the wine in her glass and let out a soft laugh. "He will be mine for his entire life. As long as his name is Ren Fujiwara, I'll tie him up and bring him back, even if he goes abroad or marries someone else. I'll keep him by my side forever." Hearing her resolute tone, everyone in the room cheered for their incredible Akira and popped open a bottle of champagne. Already numb, Ren Fujiwara dragged his heavy feet and staggered out of the bar. It was pouring rain outside. As if oblivious to the weather, he walked dejectedly into the storm. The cold raindrops pelted his body. His trembling hands could no longer hold on, and the medicine bottle in his hand fell to the ground. Watching the hard-won pills, the ones that could have treated her amnesia, get washed away, memories that had long been dormant were completely reawakened. Ren Fujiwara and Akira Kurosawa first met at the high school's New Year's Eve party. He was the final performer, and his rendition of the Liebestraum stunned the audience. It was love at first sight for Akira Kurosawa. The young girl blocked him backstage with a huge bouquet of roses, announcing her intent to pursue him. Ren Fujiwara had long heard of this glamorous campus beauty, who had reportedly dated over 20 boyfriends in her first month of school. He had always looked down on Akira Kurosawa's frivolous lifestyle, and with his parents' broken marriage, he held an almost rigid standard for purity in love. Faced with Akira's advances, he always responded with cold indifference, avoiding her at every turn. However, her infatuation with him was like a spell. She refused to back down even after being rejected 1,000 times. To ensure he could rest when he was sick, she pulled the main power switch for the entire school. She made a bold confession of her love on the athletic field and even rejected all other boys who confessed to her, day after day. 3 years slipped by quietly, but Ren Fujiwara's heart remained closed. It wasn't until the summer after the national college entrance exams that he was cornered in an alley by a group of delinquent girls. To protect him, Akira Kurosawa fought them off, suffering several stab wounds and ending up in critical condition. He cried uncontrollably at her hospital bedside, completely baffled as to why someone could sacrifice so much for love. In that moment, his heart was moved, and he decided to accept her. 7 years passed, from their innocent school days to their entry into the professional world, and Akira Kurosawa's love for him never wavered. Everyone around them said he had finally found true love. Ren Fujiwara believed it too, until 3 months before the wedding, when Akira was in a car accident during a business trip and was diagnosed with amnesia. She remembered everyone but him. The news was a devastating blow that nearly broke him, but he held on. He sought out doctors everywhere and pored over medical literature day and night, hoping she would regain her memory. He never imagined it was all just an elaborate deception. Ren Fujiwara's courage and determination were mercilessly destroyed by this sham. He returned home in a daze, pulled out all his identification documents, and went to the police station. Facing the officer, his voice was hoarse. "Hello." Ren Fujiwara took the pen and wrote down his old and new names with a trembling hand. He looked at the new name, one that nobody knew, and managed a bitter smile. From now on, no matter where he went or what he did, Akira Kurosawa would never be able to find him. After completing the name change procedures, night fell. Ren Fujiwara hailed a taxi and took out his phone to search for flights. The name change still needs a month for review, he muttered to himself. He booked a flight to Melbourne for the 1st of next month and replied to the study abroad agency to accept their offer. I can finally take this step, Ren Fujiwara thought. He had been preparing to study abroad since graduation, but Akira didn't want a long-distance relationship, so the plan had been shelved for 3 years. Now he had decided to cancel the wedding and end this relationship. It was time to let go of the past. Time to start a new life, he told himself. Back home, Ren Fujiwara changed out of his soaked clothes, washed up, and went to bed. He slept unusually soundly that night. The next morning, after breakfast, he began to sort through everything related to Akira Kurosawa. Let these memories just scatter in the wind, he said softly to himself as he packed her gifts to him, the matching clothes they bought together, the love letters from their school days. They filled 5 boxes. He dragged them out of the villa, one trip at a time, and threw them all into the trash. Ren Fujiwara, what are you busy with? A familiar, grating voice called out. As he was working, a limited edition sports car suddenly pulled over. Ren Fujiwara turned at the sound and saw Akira Kurosawa. She got out of the car with a man on her arm, walking with a swagger. Even after seeing him, she made no effort to hide. Why aren't you the least bit surprised? Akira Kurosawa looked at him provocatively. Ren Fujiwara knew the only reason she was so brazen was that she was certain he would overlook whatever she did during her amnesia. HMPH, from the very beginning, Akira Kurosawa never acknowledged me as her boyfriend and even had someone throw my things out of the villa, he thought to himself. He had thought he would be homeless, but then the owner of the house next door suddenly contacted him, saying he was going abroad and would rent it to him at the lowest possible price. At the time, I thought I was lucky, but now it seems it was just another scene she directed, Ren Fujiwara sneered inwardly. She was afraid he would actually leave, so she used this method to keep him here. Thinking back on this past month of deception, Ren Fujiwara only found it laughable. What exactly do you want? He asked, looking at Akira Kurosawa, his tone light. He didn't care what act she was putting on today. He turned to lift the last box and dumped its contents into the trash. Akira Kurosawa, who was passing by, glanced at the things he was throwing away, and her face grew cold. Why are you throwing all this out? She demanded. Ren Fujiwara glanced at her, his tone indifferent. Aren't you supposed to have amnesia? How do you remember these things? Only then did Akira Kurosawa realize her slip-up. She quickly composed herself and feigned indifference. Just asking. How could I possibly remember? The past is the past, and now is now. I only like Yuki Aida now. After all, when I had my car accident in Chiba, he was the only one who came to take care of me. A car accident? Even the amnesia was an act, so where did a car accident come from? Ren Fujiwara's lips curved into a faint smile as he glanced at the man on her arm. He was wearing a blue and white windbreaker, had broad shoulders and a narrow waist, and his eyes were full of pride. A new face I haven't seen before, Ren Fujiwara thought. He was probably the most satisfying partner Akira Kurosawa had slept with recently, which was why she was showing him off so grandly. Ren Fujiwara, are you jealous? Akira Kurosawa looked at him provocatively. He didn't want to waste any more words with her. He just grunted in agreement and turned to go into the villa. Watching his retreating back, Akira Kurosawa's eyelid twitched. Why is he so calm? She wondered. She had brought someone back, shouldn't Ren be crying and throwing a jealous fit? Why was he so calm? Akira Kurosawa sensed something was wrong but didn't chase after him to explain. She watched him disappear behind the door. At 8 o'clock, the doorbell suddenly rang. Ren Fujiwara put down the packing bag he was holding and went to open the door. It was the man Akira Kurosawa had brought back earlier. He raised a hand in a wave, a smile on his face that didn't quite reach his eyes. Hey, Ren Fujiwara, can we talk? The man initiated. Ren Fujiwara raised an eyebrow, gesturing for him to come in. My name is Yuki Aida, Akira Kurosawa's friend, the man introduced himself. I know who you are, Ren Fujiwara responded coldly, his gaze sharp, as if trying to see through Yuki's true intentions. It seems you already know, Yuki said with a smile, not at all surprised. So, what's your purpose in coming here? Ren Fujiwara asked directly. Yuki was silent for a moment, then said, I just wanted to confirm if Akira Kurosawa has really let you go. Ren Fujiwara snorted, not trusting Yuki's words. Do you really think she still has feelings for me? He retorted. Yuki didn't answer, just stared quietly at Ren Fujiwara. Their eyes met in mid-air, and the atmosphere grew tense. All right, I admit it. I came here to see if you're still worthy of her love, Yuki finally said. A flash of surprise appeared in Ren Fujiwara's eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. And what do you think? He asked. Yuki shrugged and didn't answer. Their conversation ended there. Yuki left the villa, leaving Ren Fujiwara alone with his thoughts. Hey, I'm Yuki Aida. I might be staying at my girlfriend's place for a while, so I guess we're neighbors now. If it's convenient, how about we add each other online? Yuki said, extending his hand in a friendly manner. No need, Ren Fujiwara replied coldly, turning to leave. Wait, don't be in such a hurry, Yuki said, quickly grabbing Ren Fujiwara's phone and adding himself as a friend online. He watched Ren Fujiwara's face darken but still returned the phone with a grin, his tone light. We'll be seeing a lot of each other. It's always good to have another friend. By the way, do you have any condoms? I'm all out of the ones I bought today. Could I borrow a few? Ren Fujiwara's face instantly turned pale, and the hand that took the phone trembled slightly. No, he answered, brief and cold. Yuki, however, seemed unfazed, the mockery in his eyes growing more pronounced. Right. You got dumped by Akira Kurosawa, so how could you possibly have any? Ren Fujiwara knew Yuki was deliberately provoking him. Not wanting any more trouble, he prepared to shut the door. Wait! Yuki quickly grabbed the doorknob, collapsing to the ground as tears streamed down his face. Bro, I know you don't like me, I just wanted to borrow some seasonings to make dinner for Akira. You didn't have to get physical just because you wouldn't lend them to me. Ren Fujiwara was caught completely off guard by this sudden scene, his heart racing. Before he could react, Akira Kurosawa appeared at the doorway as if from nowhere. She rushed forward and pulled Yuki to his feet. What do you think you're doing? Akira looked up, staring coldly at Ren Fujiwara, her voice tinged with anger. Yuki didn't do anything to you, what right do you have to treat him like this? He's my boyfriend now, so please show him some respect. With that, Akira Kurosawa didn't spare Ren Fujiwara another glance and left, pulling Yuki with her. Akira's words were like a sharp blade, piercing Ren Fujiwara's heart. He unconsciously clenched his fists. Watching them disappear into the night, he closed the door, his face devoid of expression. In the middle of the night, Ren Fujiwara was jolted awake by his phone vibrating. He rubbed his eyes and groggily answered the call. The screen immediately filled with an image of skin covered in love bites, accompanied by sultry moans and heavy breathing. Ren Fujiwara was instantly wide awake. He froze, staring at the images. A few seconds later, Akira Kurosawa's desire-filled voice came through the speaker. "From now on, you are not to go next door and bother Ren. You saw right through my little scheme. So why are you still on my side? Is it because you love my body so much you don't want to tell him the truth, so you can keep enjoying it?" Hearing this coquettish voice, Ren Fujiwara felt his heart being torn apart. Akira Kurosawa let out a soft hum and patted his abs. "Since you already know, why ask?" After a rustle of clothing, the camera focused on Akira Kurosawa's face. Ren Fujiwara looked at her satisfied expression, his heart turning to ice. He bit his lower lip so hard that the taste of blood filled his mouth. The panting grew more rapid, and Ren Fujiwara finally couldn't take it anymore and hung up the phone. His once sleepy eyes were now filled with tears. He tilted his head back, trying to stop them from falling, as scenes from the past flashed through his mind. Once, her tenderness had been all for him, always carefully attentive to his feelings, afraid of causing him the slightest discomfort. Ren Fujiwara thought to himself, perhaps she was never truly happy. From now on, she can be free, no longer needing to scheme for those fleeting moments of pleasure. From now on, I will give her freedom. For the next few days, Ren Fujiwara didn't leave his house. It wasn't until the day of his friend's wedding that he finally composed himself and prepared to go out. He had prepared a gift in advance and delivered it before the wedding started. After a few pleasantries, his friend took his hand, beaming. "Ren, I sent an invitation to Akira Kurosawa, and she said she's coming. You should go pick her up later. Talk to her, maybe she'll remember the proposal and get her memory back." Ren Fujiwara was silent for a moment, then shook his head. "It's no use." Watching the smile on his friend's face slowly fade, a look of concern flashed in his eyes. "What's wrong? You're not going to keep trying?" Just as Ren Fujiwara was about to answer, he saw Akira Kurosawa and Yuki Aida appear at the entrance. His friend's gaze followed his, and seeing their intimate behavior made someone's blood boil. He roared, red-faced, "Those two have gone too far." He was about to charge forward but was held back by Ren Fujiwara, whose voice was filled with exhaustion. "Let it go. It'll all be over in a little while." His friend was puzzled by his words and was about to press him further when the best man walked over. "The wedding is about to start, show." After some effort, Ren Fujiwara finally convinced his friend to go up on stage. The wedding march began to play in the hall, and he took a deep breath before returning to the main room. The guests were already seated, and there was an empty seat next to Akira Kurosawa. He hesitated for a moment but eventually sat down. During the wedding, Yuki Aida hovered around Akira Kurosawa, asking her to get him food. Akira complied with every request, pouring him drinks and blowing on his soup, attending to his every need. Even when Yuki offered her a bite of his own dessert, Akira ate it without hesitation. Watching their intimate display, Ren Fujiwara felt a sourness rise in his chest. He turned his head away, his gaze fixed on the center stage. His friend's mother, sitting next to him, put some food on his plate, smiling. "Ren, eat up." Not wanting to disappoint her kindness, Ren Fujiwara picked up a gyoza. The moment she saw this, Akira Kurosawa next to him immediately reached out and took the gyoza away. "You can't eat this, it has a seafood filling. You're allergic." Ren Fujiwara looked up and stared at her intently. Only then did Akira Kurosawa realize her slip-up. Her expression became awkward, and she quickly explained, "The housekeeper at home never buys seafood. I've reminded her several times, but she never listens." After speaking, she didn't dare look at Ren Fujiwara again and turned to start peeling shrimp. Yuki Aida leaned close to her ear and whispered something. Akira Kurosawa's expression grew serious. She put down her food and left with Yuki. Ren Fujiwara wasn't concerned about where they went. It wasn't until after the bouquet toss that he got up to go to the restroom. Just as he reached the door, he heard a continuous slapping sound from inside. He stopped and held his breath. After a moment of silence, a seductive female voice came from the innermost stall. "Aren't you being improper? Coming to a wedding dressed like this, You don't like it? After a gasp, there was a soft laugh. Of course, I like it. Ren Fujiwara looked up, his gaze falling on the sign above. His fingers unconsciously dug into his palms. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, and the restroom fell silent again. He took one last look at the closed door, his eyes turning red, and walked away. At 3 in the afternoon, the wedding concluded. After chatting with his friends for a bit, Ren Fujiwara went downstairs. As soon as he stepped out of the elevator, he spotted the familiar sports car parked by the road. He pretended not to see it and was about to hail a taxi when Yuki Aida suddenly grabbed his wrist. Akira had a company emergency and had to leave early. She left the car for me. We live pretty close, let me give you a ride. Without a second thought, Ren Fujiwara refused. No, thank you. Yuki paid him no mind, pushing him into the passenger seat, locking the doors, and stepping on the gas. Don't be polite, get in. He drove extremely fast, and Ren Fujiwara had no choice but to fasten his seatbelt. Along the way, under the guise of making small talk, Yuki kept dropping hints. You've known all along that Akira was faking her amnesia, right? Why don't you dare expose her? Ren Fujiwara's gaze froze for a second, his face expressionless. That has nothing to do with you. How does it have nothing to do with me? I'm also looking forward to standing openly by Akira's side as her fiancé. Although she doesn't feel that way now, you know she admires me. She'll fall for me sooner or later, right? Ren Fujiwara completely ignored him, turning to look at the scenery outside the window. Seeing that he wasn't responding, Yuki grew annoyed and provoked him with a few more words. Ren Fujiwara simply closed his eyes, pretending he didn't exist. This dismissal enraged Yuki even more. He looked at the upcoming turn in the road, made a rash decision, and jerked the steering wheel, crashing the car. Crash, the violent impact sent Ren Fujiwara lurching forward uncontrollably. He opened his eyes to see shards of glass flying toward his face and instinctively raised his hands to protect himself. Dark red blood flowed from his arm. He slammed into the side door, a sharp pain shot through his head, and everything went black as he lost consciousness. He didn't know how much time had passed when a chaotic voice echoed in his ears. Both patients need immediate surgery on their hands, but we only have one surgeon available right now. The patient who doesn't receive timely treatment may be at risk of permanent disability. Miss Kurosawa, who do you want to save? Hearing this, Ren Fujiwara forced himself to wake up, squeezing 2 sentences from his throat. Akira Kurosawa, I need to continue my photography. My hand, it can't have any problems. The warm little hand that had been holding his left hand suddenly let go after hearing his voice. Ren Fujiwara noticed a flash of panic on Akira Kurosawa's face. She gently placed her hand on Yuki Aida's shoulder and said in a steady voice, let's save Yuki first. Chapter 5 Ren Fujiwara's consciousness slowly returned in a sea of darkness. His eyelids felt as heavy as lead, but he could hear a muffled conversation nearby. Akira, you've taken this too far. If this gets out, how are we going to clean it up? An anxious voice said. Ren's hand is more important than his life to him. How could you save Yuki first? Another voice questioned. How could I possibly want to hurt Ren? Akira Kurosawa defended herself hastily. He suddenly woke up. If I had agreed to save him first, wouldn't my fake amnesia be exposed? If his hand really becomes disabled, the two of you are finished, the other person retorted. It won't. Didn't the doctor say his hand would have been unsalvageable if he had entered the operating room even 1 minute later? How could I let anything happen to him? Akira said in a low, firm voice. You don't think this is a big deal? Didn't you hear what the doctor said? The person continued to press. I know. In another 23 days, the doctor will announce that I've recovered my memory, and everything will go back to the way it was, Akira said reassuringly. All right then, but you can't afford any mistakes, the person sighed and left the room. Akira Kurosawa remained by Ren Fujiwara's bedside, whispering softly, Ren, our wedding is just around the corner. I've already ordered the rings. You'll see them the day I get my memory back. After we register our marriage, I'll take you to see the Northern Lights, okay? Do you remember the wish we made on a shooting star on our 3rd anniversary? She continued to whisper. You said you wanted to be with me forever. I was so happy. I want to grow old with you, too. As the effects of the anesthesia gradually wore off, Ren Fujiwara's thoughts became clearer. He recognized the murmuring voice as that of his fiancé, Akira Kurosawa. She seemed extremely concerned about him, calling a doctor to check on his condition every half hour. She would carefully help him drink water, tidy his blanket, and stayed by his side the entire time. It continued until he was fully awake. You're awake? How are you feeling? Akira Kurosawa asked immediately upon seeing him open his eyes. Okay, just a little tired. Ren Fujiwara replied. He felt the tide of her tenderness recede as quickly as it had come. Watching her avoid his gaze as she left the room, a flicker of mockery crossed Ren Fujiwara's eyes. A few minutes later, a nurse came in to check on him. Who has been looking after me in the hospital these past few days? Ren Fujiwara asked in a hoarse voice, watching the nurse carefully try to hide his medical chart. I'm not too sure. It was probably a caregiver, the nurse answered hesitantly, her eyes darting around. Ren Fujiwara felt a wave of exhaustion. He picked up his phone, glanced at the time, December 8th. He had been unconscious for 3 days. His text messages still consisted only of advertisements and billing notifications. She hasn't come to see me at all in these 3 days? Ren Fujiwara thought, feeling a little disappointed. He closed his eyes and silently prayed that his name change application would be approved soon. For a long time after that, Akira Kurosawa did not appear. Yuki Aida, on the other hand, sent numerous messages every day. Half were provocations, and the other half were photos showing off their affection. Look how happy I am. What about you? Yuki provoked in a message, his tone tinged with contempt. His other messages were videos of him and Akira in bed, which he flaunted everywhere. If you had gotten with me sooner, you wouldn't have ended up in this state, Yuki added in one of the videos. Ren Fujiwara didn't click on a single video, simply setting Yuki's notifications to silent. On December 15th, Ren Fujiwara completed his hospital discharge procedures. He threw everything else away, leaving the hospital with only his medication. Just as he reached the entrance, he ran into a senior from university who had once pursued him. Ren, long time no see. How have you been? The senior asked warmly. Not bad, doing well, Ren Fujiwara replied with a smile. As they were happily chatting, Akira Kurosawa appeared out of nowhere and pulled Ren Fujiwara away. Who gave you permission to be so friendly with her? Akira Kurosawa's face was dark, her eyes filled with a gloomy possessiveness, and her voice was laced with jealousy. Didn't you lose your memory and deny that I'm your boyfriend? Who I talk to is my own freedom. You don't seem to have the right to control me, Ren Fujiwara said, glancing at her and forcefully pulling his wrist, now red from her grip, away. His tone was full of sarcasm. You? Akira Kurosawa was choked speechless, able only to watch him walk away. After resting for a while, Ren Fujiwara slowly recovered. In his spare time, he roughly calculated his expenses for studying abroad and found the amount to be staggering. I need to find some work quickly, or I won't have enough money, Ren Fujiwara thought to himself. Coincidentally, a former client introduced him to a big project. With time on his hands, he decided to take it on. After accepting the job, Ren Fujiwara reassured himself, it's just a birthday party, it shouldn't be too difficult. However, when he arrived at the venue, he was surprised to find it was a birthday celebration for Akira Kurosawa. Witnessing Akira Kurosawa appear with Yuki Aida on her arm, Ren Fujiwara froze. How could it be Akira Kurosawa, he wondered, a sense of foreboding washing over him. Ren Fujiwara, you're here. Come on, start taking pictures, Akira Kurosawa greeted him enthusiastically when she saw him. All right, I'm on it, Ren Fujiwara responded, pushing down the strange feeling in his heart and taking out his camera. When Yuki Aida saw him, he immediately approached with a broad smile. I'll have to trouble you. When you take the photos, try to shoot from a low angle and turn down the brightness a bit. When I get on stage, remember to zoom in. Yuki instructed. Understood. Ren Fujiwara nodded in agreement. He followed Yuki Aida's instructions and took over 100 photos. This won't do. Reshoot, Yuki Aida said with a look of contempt after seeing the photos. Okay, Ren Fujiwara patiently reshot 3 or 4 more versions, the old injury on his wrist aching faintly. How did they turn out like this? Mr. Fujiwara, the great photographer, it seems your skills aren't as amazing as the rumors say. Let's just use the first version. At least a few of those photos are usable, Yuki Aida commented, and the people around them snickered. You all. Ren Fujiwara rubbed his numb knees, struggling to stand up, and let out a soft snort. Yuki Aida became even more smug, walking over to Akira Kurosawa and nestling intimately in her arms. Quick, take a few photos of us together, Yuki Aida waved at Ren Fujiwara, commanding him. Ren Fujiwara's eyes narrowed for a moment, then quickly returned to a state of calm. He gently raised his camera, carefully aiming at the perfect couple on the dance floor. With a soft click of the shutter, the image was captured. Yuki Aida struck various poses, and finally, amidst the cheers of the crowd, he leaned in and lightly kissed Akira Kurosawa. A match made in heaven. The love story of a handsome man and a beautiful woman is always a pleasure to watch. To throw such a grand party on a whim, Akira always indulges her little star's every request. That level of devotion is truly enviable. The surrounding jeers caused Akira Kurosawa's body to stiffen involuntarily. She slowly released Yuki Aida's arm and looked nervously at Ren Fujiwara. Ren, please don't misunderstand. Her voice was barely a whisper. However, Ren Fujiwara was merely focused on flipping through the photos in his camera, responding coolly, misunderstand? I'm not blind. His attitude seemed completely indifferent to the scene that had just unfolded. The party finally ended after 4 hours of clamor. Ren Fujiwara packed up his camera and took out a tissue to gently wipe away the cake stain that Yuki Aida had accidentally splattered on his clothes. The sound of footsteps suddenly echoed in the empty hall. He looked up to see Yuki Aida walking straight toward him with a smile. You worked hard tonight. I hear you're in desperate need of money. I have another set of photos I need help with, and I can double your pay. How about it? Double? Ren Fujiwara hesitated for a moment before finally nodding. All right, then follow me. Yuki Aida led him upstairs in the hotel and began to arrange the angles and content for the shoot. Ren Fujiwara set up his camera in a corner just as a knock came from outside the door. It's about to start. Remember to capture everything, Yuki Aida said, not rushing to open the door, but giving Ren Fujiwara a meaningful smile. I know, Ren Fujiwara nodded. Yuki Aida then drew the curtains, leaving only a small gap for the camera to film through. Ren Fujiwara curled up in the small space, the sound of approaching footsteps filling his ears. His body leaned forward slightly. Under the warm yellow light, Yuki Aida slowly approached with a woman. They embraced tightly, their clothes occasionally falling to the floor. The air filled with sultry gasps. Ren Fujiwara watched Akira Kurosawa, the woman entwined with Yuki Aida in his lens, and his hand unconsciously gripped the tripod. What do you have planned for tonight? Akira Kurosawa asked softly. Everything you love. I've even prepared several outfits, just waiting for my wife to come and rip them off. Yuki Aida's voice carried a hint of playfulness. The passion in the room surged like a tide. Ren Fujiwara listened to the continuous sounds, his heart twisting in pain, as if something was blocking his chest, making it difficult to even breathe. Time seemed to slow to a crawl in that moment. Every minute and every second was agony. At 3 in the morning, the room finally fell silent. The sound of water running in the bathroom gradually began. Ren Fujiwara pulled back the curtain and walked out, dragging his numb legs. He stepped over the torn clothes on the floor, placed the memory card on the table, and then opened the door. What was that sound? Is someone there? A low voice called from the bathroom. All right, let's continue. The bathroom door was carefully pushed open a crack, then quickly shut again. Through the reflection in the glass door, Ren Fujiwara glimpsed his own shadow, then turned and gently closed the door behind him. The late-night streets were deserted, without a single car in sight. He wandered aimlessly, a buzzing sound in his ears, but his mind was a complete blank. He walked for an unknown amount of time, until the sky began to lighten. Only then did Ren Fujiwara lift his dark-circled eyes and find, to his surprise, that he had returned to his old high school. The campus was exceptionally quiet at 7 in the morning. He walked alone along the school's paths, his gaze drifting around him. Those sealed memories seemed to be coming loose. He remembered Akira Kurosawa pulling him along for an 800-meter run on the track, remembered her filling the small auditorium with roses for his birthday, remembered her confessing her love to him in front of the entire school at the flag-raising ceremony. Everything was just as it had been, but Ren Fujiwara's feelings were completely different now. He strolled to the base of the academic building and happened upon the dean of students, who was just arriving for work. Because of Akira Kurosawa's dramatic pursuit in the past, almost all the teachers remembered him. The dean greeted him with a smile. "Ren Fujiwara? What brings you back to school all of a sudden? Where's Akira Kurosawa? I heard you two got engaged. Are you here to hand out wedding invitations?" Ren Fujiwara forced a smile and changed the subject. "It's been too long since I've been back. I was just passing by and thought I'd come in and see the teachers." The two chatted as they walked, reminiscing about many past events with a great deal of emotion. As they were parting, the dean seemed to remember something. He took a yellow diary from his office cabinet and handed it to him. "I confiscated this from Akira Kurosawa during a study hall period when I was checking on discipline. Since you two are about to get married, I'll return it to you." Ren Fujiwara paused for a moment, took the diary, and bowed deeply to the dean. On the way home, he opened the diary. The first thing he saw was Akira Kurosawa's flamboyant handwriting. "March 12th. Ren didn't say yes, but he smiled at me today. I feel like I have a chance. July 1st. Summer vacation is too long. I waited downstairs at Ren's house for 4 hours just to catch a glimpse of him. November 23rd. Someone confessed to Ren today. It made me so mad I beat her up and got a demerit. December 21st. Today is my 17th birthday. The only wish the 17-year-old Akira Kurosawa wants is to be with the 16-year-old Ren Fujiwara, forever and ever, without ever being apart." On every page, there was the same name, chronicling a young girl's heart. As Ren Fujiwara read, his nose tingled, and tears began to fall uncontrollably. Drop by drop, they were a tribute to the past, and also a farewell. By the time the car stopped in front of the villa, Ren Fujiwara had calmed his turbulent emotions. He closed the diary, opened the car door, and came face to face with Akira Kurosawa, who had just returned. Seeing the crimson love bites on her neck, he remembered the events of the night and averted his gaze. Akira Kurosawa noticed he looked as if he had been crying and frowned, trying to think of a subtle way to ask. Yuki Aida, standing beside her, also saw his red eyes and chuckled. "You worked hard yesterday. I've already transferred the money. I'm very satisfied with the shoot. You should be too, right?" Hearing his suggestive tone, Akira Kurosawa's heart leaped. Satisfied with what? The birthday photos from the first half of the night, of course. What else could it be? The second half, seeing his unfiltered speech, Akira Kurosawa's heart dropped. She swiftly covered his mouth with her hand. He just winked at her and gently nibbled her fingers. Watching the two of them flirt so openly, Ren Fujiwara was already immune. He turned and walked toward his house. As he passed the trash can, he casually tossed the diary inside. The youthful years that held so much love and sincerity were thus completely buried. Before leaving, Ren Fujiwara sent a message to his landlord, telling him he would not be renewing the lease. The landlord kept asking why he was moving, so he made up a random excuse. The landlord said he could extend the stay for a few days, letting him live there until the middle of next month. Ren Fujiwara knew that Akira Kurosawa was behind it. She wanted him to stay a couple more days so she could pretend to recover her memory and take him back home. He didn't expose their plan and simply agreed. 3 days before he was due to leave, Ren Fujiwara received a call from an unknown number. "Mr. Fujiwara? Hello, I'm the manager of the Imperial Hotel, the one where you held your engagement party. Your fiancé previously booked our main hall, saying she wants to hold a wedding banquet here the day after tomorrow. But we haven't been able to contact her recently, and there are some details we need to confirm. Would you be willing to come over and talk?" Ren Fujiwara was about to refuse, but when he heard the day after tomorrow, his eyelashes fluttered. January 1st was the day Akira Kurosawa had decided to recover her memory, and it was also the day he was preparing to leave. He nodded in agreement and immediately hailed a taxi to go over. Upon entering the main hall and seeing the decorations, he fell silent, from the flowers to the ornaments. Everything was identical to the proposal scene Akira Kurosawa had set up for him. Being there, Ren Fujiwara for a moment couldn't tell if it was then or now. The manager who had accompanied him in was about to give an introduction when he received a phone call and temporarily stepped away. He walked alone to the second floor, looking down, and couldn't help but recall the scene of Akira Kurosawa holding flowers and a ring, promising to love only him for a lifetime. Back then, Ren Fujiwara was joyfully anticipating his upcoming married life. Who would have thought that after just 3 months, everything would have vanished into thin air? As he was lost in thought, the door was suddenly pushed open. Akira Kurosawa, in a little pink dress, walked in holding a bouquet of flowers. Following behind her, Yuki Aida couldn't help but gasp at the dreamlike scene before him, a hint of anticipation flashing in his eyes. "Akira, what did you bring me here for?" Akira Kurosawa snapped her fingers, her face glowing with delight. "This is where I proposed to Ren and held our engagement party. The day after tomorrow, I plan to have a few friends bring Ren here. Then I can pretend the scene triggers my memory and logically recall the past. I brought you here today to do a rehearsal. You'll play the part of Ren, so we can see if there are any flaws." With that, she pushed Yuki Aida to the center of the stage and began the act. A massive pillar completely hid Ren Fujiwara from view. He quietly watched the two of them perform with such genuine emotion, a faint glint in his eyes. He had to admit, Akira Kurosawa was truly talented when it came to acting. If he had been completely unaware of everything coming here in 3 days, he might have actually been fooled by her. Fortunately, he wasn't that unlucky. Down below, the scene had progressed to the forgiveness stage, and Yuki Aida kissed Akira Kurosawa. From that moment on, the once tender atmosphere slowly began to sour. The pristine white suit was smudged with lipstick, and it slid to the floor along with the pink dress. Akira Kurosawa wrapped her arms around the man's neck, her tone light and casual. "Someone could walk in here at any moment. You just can't help yourself, can you? There are only 3 days left. A moment of spring night is worth 1,000 pieces of gold, don't you understand? Besides, isn't it exciting to do it in the most important place of your life?" Seeing his aroused, charming state, Akira Kurosawa narrowed her eyes and let out a soft laugh. "So many tricks up your sleeve. How else can I make my wife remember me? If you feel unfulfilled after going back to him, you can always contact me." Hearing this, Akira Kurosawa reached out and pinched his chin, a flash of clarity in her eyes. Her voice held absolute certainty. "There will be no after. In 3 days, everything will be over. I will belong only to Ren." "Is that so?" Ren Fujiwara lowered his eyes, hiding the mockery within them, and gave her his answer in his heart. "Too bad, Akira Kurosawa. I don't want you anymore." 2 days before his departure, Ren Fujiwara received news that his name change application had been approved. "Finally done. I've carried this name for so long, it's about time for a change," he muttered to himself as he went out to pick up his new ID card and passport with his changed name. It was already evening when he got home. The weather was a bit cold. He blew on his hands as he got out of the car, only to look up and see Akira Kurosawa waiting at his door. "Hey, what are you doing here?" His tone was very calm. "Where did you go?" Akira Kurosawa put her hands in her pockets, feigning nonchalance. "Nowhere special, just running some errands," Ren Fujiwara said as he unlocked the door with his key. "Oh, well, as long as it's nothing," Akira Kurosawa's voice was hesitant. "Is there something you need?" Ren Fujiwara asked, turning back. "No, it's just that the weather forecast says there will be a heavy storm tomorrow." It's best not to go out if you don't have to, Akira Kurosawa said, feeling a bit flustered but forcing herself to finish. Oh, got it, Ren Fujiwara nodded. He couldn't help but want to laugh, but he held it in. Seeing his nonchalant expression, Akira Kurosawa felt an inexplicable sense of panic. Have you been acting a bit strange lately? She couldn't help but ask. Strange? How am I strange? I feel perfectly normal, Ren Fujiwara said with a smile. I can't quite put my finger on it, it just feels like something's off, Akira Kurosawa said with a frown. Maybe I've just been too tired lately. You're overthinking it, Ren Fujiwara reassured her. On the day of his departure, Ren Fujiwara woke up very early. My flight is at 2 this afternoon, I'd better get packing soon, he said, looking at the time and starting to organize his things. He threw away everything he had left. This junk is useless now anyway, he muttered to himself, looking at the room, now empty except for 2 suitcases. Ren Fujiwara took a deep breath, ready to embrace his new life. He let out a sigh of relief. The clock struck 11, and the doorbell suddenly rang. Who could that be? Ren Fujiwara opened the door and saw several of Akira Kurosawa's close friends through the crack. Ren, we heard you've been feeling down and exhausted because of Akira's condition. The doctor told us a few days ago that her condition has improved with timely medication, so you don't need to worry too much, one of the friends said. Yeah, we're all hoping Akira recovers her memory soon. We're all waiting to attend your wedding. Today happens to be your anniversary, so we've prepared a little gift, another friend chimed in. Ren Fujiwara patiently listened to them recite their prepared lines, then played along. What gift? You'll know if you come with us, they said with a smile. Before he could respond, one of their phones rang. Hello, what's up? The person answered the phone. After listening for a moment, their expression suddenly turned serious. Bro, something unexpected came up. The gift might have to wait a bit. You go on with your business, we'll come pick you up tonight. After saying that, they hurriedly left in the rain. Ren Fujiwara watched them disappear into the rain, then turned and brought his luggage out. Looks like they can't keep up the act, he muttered to himself. 10 minutes later, a taxi pulled up to the door. The driver helped him with his luggage and took it inside. First, Ren Fujiwara, holding an umbrella, walked close to the wall and left the villa. As he passed the car parked next door, he heard some strange noises coming from inside. Amid the sound of the rain, a man's voice sounded exceptionally sweet. Didn't you say you were going to get your memory back and return to reality? Sister, it's almost time. You're so charming, how could I bear to leave? It's been postponed until tonight. We still have time, let's go a few more rounds. Ren Fujiwara stopped in his tracks. What are they doing? He turned to the side and looked at the sports car, which was now shaking more and more violently. He felt a knot of tension in his chest, and a tear slid from the corner of his eye. Ren Fujiwara, you're such a joke, he whispered in self-mockery. The driver, who had already loaded the luggage, called out from a distance. Mr. Tanaka, aren't you getting in the car? He calmly wiped away the tear. Akira Kurosawa, this is the last tear I will ever shed for you. He stepped toward the passenger seat, closed his umbrella, and got in. The moment the car door shut, the window of the sports car rolled down. Ren Fujiwara did not see the questioning look in Akira Kurosawa's eyes, nor did he hear Yuki Aida's, "You must have heard wrong." He took out his expired ID card and snapped it in half. Sir, you don't want your ID card anymore, the driver asked, noticing his action. It's expired. I don't need it, he said with a nod, his tone calm. From now on, everything is a new beginning. He would no longer cling to anything related to Ren Fujiwara. At 5 in the afternoon, the day-long rain finally stopped. It finally stopped. This rain is so annoying, Akira Kurosawa said with satisfaction as she opened the car door, waving at Yuki Aida, who was still buttoning up his shirt, to get out. Wait, sister, Yuki pouted and glared at her, seeming to want a kiss. Stop, Akira Kurosawa turned her head to avoid him, her tone lazy. Sister, Yuki still wanted to say something. I told you from the very beginning that we were just playing a 2-month game. Now time's up. You should make your exit, Akira Kurosawa interrupted him, her tone firm and unquestionable. Seeing her cold demeanor, Yuki Aida could only get out of the car reluctantly. Fine, I'm leaving then, he grumbled. Akira Kurosawa rolled down the window and stepped on the gas. HMPH, what a useless guy, she muttered. The lingering scent of passion in the car was swept away by the wind. She looked at the shrinking distance on the navigation and gave a slight smile. After parking the car in the Imperial Hotel's garage, she didn't go to the main hall but went straight upstairs. I'm exhausted. I need to take a shower first. Her clothes were all wrinkled from their afternoon romp. She needed to freshen up. Before heading into the bathroom, she called a few friends and gave them some instructions. Hey, are you guys ready? The people on the other end all snickered in unison. Akira, don't you worry. Ren agreed this morning that he would come. We're on our way to pick him up now, one friend said. Yeah, you should focus on how you're going to act later. This won't be easy, another added. She's been acting for 2 months without a single slip-up. What are you guys afraid of? Ren is head over heels for her, he'll never suspect a thing, said a third friend. Akira Kurosawa couldn't be bothered with their banter. She laughed, cursed them playfully, and tossed her phone onto the sofa. Half an hour later, she came out drying her hair to the sound of her phone ringing incessantly. Who's calling so much? She checked her phone and saw over 20 missed calls. Her heart suddenly started to race. After trying to calm her racing heart, she answered the phone. Why so many calls? What happened? Akira, we've been knocking on the villa door for a while, but Ren isn't answering. He's not replying to messages, and his phone is off. What should we do? Her friend's voice was filled with anxiety. You can't reach him. Akira Kurosawa's brow furrowed, her good mood completely ruined. He's probably asleep. Go to my house, get the spare key from the housekeeper, and go inside to check on him. Be careful not to scare him, she instructed quickly. They agreed. Akira Kurosawa rubbed her temples, changing into clean clothes while mentally reviewing her plans for the evening. This can't go wrong, she thought to herself. After getting dressed, she grabbed her things and went downstairs. The hotel manager saw her and immediately greeted her with enthusiasm. Miss Kurosawa, please take a look at the setup. Is there anything you're not satisfied with? We can adjust it immediately. Akira Kurosawa gave it a quick scan and nodded in satisfaction. It's great, a perfect recreation of the proposal scene. You have a good memory. Having received her approval, the hotel manager's smile became even more fawning. As long as you're satisfied, Miss Kurosawa. Actually, to be able to recreate it so perfectly, I also have your fiancé to thank. A few days ago, there were some decorations I couldn't remember the placement of, so I had to ask him to come over and confirm. Fiancé. Hearing this word, the expression on Akira Kurosawa's face froze. She stared intently at the manager, her voice laced with anger. Who gave you permission to contact him? This was supposed to be a surprise for him, don't you know that? Seeing Akira Kurosawa's anger, the manager was so frightened he began to stammer. I couldn't reach you, so I asked him to come and help. You didn't say it was a secret. I thought since you were already engaged, it would be her plan of over a month ruined. Akira Kurosawa's face turned red with anger. You're such an idiot. She clenched her fists, and just as she was about to lose her temper, her friend called again. Hey Akira, bad news. Ren is gone. Connecting this to what the manager had just said, Akira Kurosawa felt her head spin. Go find him, she roared. Hearing her roar, her friends on the other end of the line were on the verge of tears. It's not that we're not looking, it's that everything in the villa is gone. We checked the surveillance footage. He threw everything out this morning and left with his luggage at noon. We have no idea where he went. What are you talking about? Akira Kurosawa felt as if her head had been struck by lightning, leaving her completely stunned. 12 o'clock, a taxi, and that vague Mr. Tanaka. She tried hard to recall the details she had ignored, piecing the memories together bit by bit. The manager was still explaining, his voice sounding flustered. Actually, even if I hadn't called Mr. Fujiwara, it seems he already knew. He asked me a lot of questions that day, and before he left, he gave me a box to give to you tonight. With that, the manager carefully handed over the box. Akira Kurosawa looked at the ring box he offered, feeling her breath catch in her throat. With a trembling hand, she opened it and immediately saw the brilliant engagement ring. Beside it lay a single pink button. She stared at the button, suddenly remembering something Yuki had complained about 3 days ago as they left the hotel. Be more careful next time we're out. You ripped a button off my shirt, and everyone was laughing at me. She suddenly realized that the dress she had personally unbuttoned and then helped him put back on that day was, in fact, pink. The blood in Akira Kurosawa's veins began to flow in reverse. She grabbed the manager by the collar, her eyes wide and bloodshot. When was this? 3 days ago. Mr. Fujiwara came over at 2 in the afternoon and didn't leave until 5. Hearing this answer, Akira Kurosawa felt on the verge of collapse. She snatched the ring and ran like a madwoman to the garage. She ran more than 10 red lights, speeding all the way, and was back home within 10 minutes. The lights in the villa next door were on, and the people inside were pacing anxiously like ants on a hot pan. Akira, there's no clue at all. We really don't know where Ren went. I had someone check too. Ren Fujiwara's name isn't on any passenger lists for those who left Tokyo in the last month. The barrage of bad news sent Akira Kurosawa's heart plummeting to the depths. She frantically picked up her phone to call Ren Fujiwara, only to be met with the cold, automated message that his phone was off. All the messages she sent were rejected, a sea of red exclamation marks that made her vision swim. Akira, pull yourself together. He just left. If we look now, we can still find him. Right, just track his phone, we can definitely. Miss Kurosawa, we have news. Hearing this, Akira Kurosawa forced herself to calm down. She quickly sent a message to her secretary, demanding he investigate thoroughly. After an agonizing hour of waiting, the secretary replied, Miss Kurosawa, Mr. Fujiwara's phone was found in a trash can at the bus terminal. We are checking the inbound passenger lists, but there are illegal taxis operating outside the station, so there may be omissions. While not good news, it was better than no lead at all. Akira Kurosawa couldn't sit still. Against everyone's objections, she rushed directly to the bus terminal. As soon as she arrived, her secretary handed her a wiped phone. After entering the password to unlock it, Akira Kurosawa discovered that all social media accounts had been cleared and all contacts deleted, leaving only one name, Yuki Aida. Seeing this name, a chill ran down Akira Kurosawa's spine. She took a deep breath, steeling herself, and finally mustered the courage to tap on it. The most recent post was a video Yuki had sent that afternoon, with the inside of a car as the background. Akira Kurosawa already had a sinking feeling. She didn't dare to play it directly, instead scrolling up 3 or 4 videos a day, interspersed with text. How does it feel to play dumb, Ren Fujiwara? You can still stand being toyed with like this. Your fiancé has such a strong libido, and you're so cold. If you two get married, I bet you divorce in 3 months. Do you really want to marry her? If you can't handle it, just beg me. I'll teach you a few tricks, guaranteed to win Akira Kurosawa's heart so she won't have to fake amnesia and cheat on you. Think about it. From January to December, every day was filled with such provocations. Akira Kurosawa was blinded by rage. Only one thought remained in her mind: settle the score with Yuki Aida. She sped all the way home. Just as she got out of the car, she saw luggage piled up by the door. Yuki Aida was directing a few maids to move things. When he saw her return, he immediately came forward to greet her. How are you back so soon? Still can't bear to part with me? Give me a kiss, and I won't leave. Faced with Yuki Aida's face, Akira Kurosawa finally snapped. She raised her hand and, with all her might, slapped him hard across the face. With a loud smack, Yuki Aida was knocked to the ground, his fair complexion turning crimson and swollen. He looked up in disbelief, his voice choked with tears. Akira Kurosawa, why did you hit me? Akira Kurosawa was too furious to speak. She threw the phone at him, her eyes glinting with a cold light. Yuki Aida tearfully picked up the phone. The moment he saw the screen, his body began to tremble uncontrollably. 1,000 thoughts raced through his mind, and he explained in a panic, Akira Kurosawa, I can explain. It was actually Ren Fujiwara who added me. He knew you were faking amnesia all along. I only did those things because I love you too much. These words were like adding fuel to the fire for Akira Kurosawa. She lost control, yanked him to his feet, and wrapped her hands tightly around his throat. "You still have the nerve to say that? What do you take me for?" Akira Kurosawa said furiously. Yuki Aida felt himself suffocating, struggling desperately, his sharp nails scratching deep gashes into Akira Kurosawa's hands. "Akira Kurosawa, please, let go." Yuki's voice was filled with sobs, but Akira Kurosawa seemed to feel no pain, her grip only tightening. Yuki Aida's face turned from red to blue, then gradually to a deep purple. His desperate eyes bulged, a sign of impending death. Just as Yuki Aida thought he was about to be choked to death, a few people arrived at the scene. They were horrified by the sight and rushed to save him. "Akira Kurosawa, calm down. The most important thing now is to find Ren Fujiwara." Right, we have him in our hands. There will be plenty of time to settle scores later." Hearing these words, Akira Kurosawa finally released her grip. She gave one last look at the man collapsed on the ground, her voice icy. "Take him to Old Man Mori's place. Keep a close watch on him." Hearing this name, Yuki Aida suddenly sobered up. He crawled to Akira Kurosawa, hugging her legs and pleading, "Akira Kurosawa, no, Akira Kurosawa. I was with you for 2 months. Please let me go this one time. If you just let me leave, I promise I'll never bother you again. I'm begging you." He cried his heart out, but Akira Kurosawa remained expressionless. Her friends didn't dare to intervene, dragging him into the car. Yuki Aida was unable to break free, forced to watch the house shrink in the rearview mirror. His desperate wails echoed through the car, and the faces of the others turned cold. If you had just behaved, taken the money, and left, you would have been set for life. But you had to overreach. You really brought this on yourself by provoking Ren Fujiwara. Learn your lesson. Once you're at Old Man Mori's place, be obedient. At least you'll keep your life. Otherwise, his men won't show any mercy. When the plane landed in Melbourne, it was just past midnight. The border control officer flipped through the documents, asking a few routine questions. "Mr. Kenji Tanaka, how long do you plan to stay in Australia?" "Hello, I've received an acceptance letter from the University of Melbourne. I expect to take 2 years to complete my studies." Hearing his fluent English, the border control officer didn't ask any more questions and simply stamped his passport, letting him through. Kenji Tanaka, no, he should be called Kenji Tanaka now, politely expressed his thanks, collected his luggage, and left the airport. He took out his newly purchased phone to search for the hotel's location and hailed a taxi. The driver was an Australian of Asian descent. As soon as she saw Kenji Tanaka's face, she immediately struck up a warm conversation. Hearing his native Japanese in a foreign country, Kenji Tanaka felt exceptionally comforted. Along the way, the two chatted enthusiastically. The driver even gave him a lot of tips for living in Melbourne, which Kenji Tanaka noted down one by one. After arriving at the hotel, they exchanged contact information. The driver helped him with his luggage to the elevator and then said her goodbyes. Kenji Tanaka opened the room door with his key card, and upon seeing the tidy room, his tense spirit finally relaxed. He unpacked his luggage, went downstairs for dinner, and after washing up, he lay on the comfortable large bed and quickly fell into a deep sleep. He slept soundly through the night. The next afternoon, Kenji Tanaka woke up still feeling a bit dazed. Seeing the unfamiliar room, he didn't recognize it. At first, it took him a few minutes to realize he had already left Tokyo and arrived in a brand new country. It was the peak of summer in Melbourne, and the weather was hot. Kenji Tanaka changed into a couple of shirts, went out for lunch, and then took a taxi to the area near the university to check on the apartment he had booked in advance. The landlord arrived on time and handed him the apartment keys. Kenji Tanaka wandered around his new home, making a list of things he needed to buy, and then hired a cleaning service to tidy up. By evening, he had returned to the apartment with his luggage and began to settle in. Over the next few days, Kenji Tanaka bought many daily necessities, and the once empty room gradually filled up. As he organized his belongings, he kept in touch with his soon-to-arrive roommate. Gradually, he began to adapt to the local lifestyle. With his excellent cooking skills, Kenji Tanaka smoothly integrated into the international student community, becoming good friends with his 2 male neighbors. They took him shopping, introduced him to nearby restaurants, and showed him around the local attractions. After a few days, Kenji Tanaka's superb photography skills were recognized by his new friends, and he even joined a local photography circle. On his 10th day in Melbourne, Kenji Tanaka completed his first photography assignment, looking at the newly deposited $300. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Early the next morning, there was a commotion outside his door. Kenji Tanaka walked out of his bedroom, rubbing his sleepy eyes, and saw a young man in his early 20s pushing a suitcase, greeting him shyly. "Hello, are you Kenji Tanaka? I'm Ryohei Zhao, your roommate." Only then did Kenji Tanaka remember that his roommate had mentioned he would be arriving in Melbourne today. He quickly went to greet him, helped with his luggage, and gave him a tour of the apartment. In one morning, the two, who had previously only chatted online, quickly became familiar with each other and went grocery shopping together in the afternoon. The days passed one by one, and soon it was February. With the school year about to begin, the day before classes started, Kenji Tanaka cooked a lavish meal and invited several of his new friends over for a dinner party. After a month of getting to know each other, everyone's relationships had grown closer. After a few drinks, everyone gathered together to gossip. Someone started it, and soon everyone began to complain about their ex-girlfriends. Kenji Tanaka listened to all the bizarre stories, laughing until he was bent over. Ryohei Zhao laughed and casually asked, "Everyone has had their turn to vent. Kenji, do you have any secrets to share with us?" The smile on Kenji Tanaka's face froze. When the other guys had shared their stories, they had also mentioned ex-girlfriends who had cheated. When he was listening, he just treated it as a joke, but when the topic turned to him, he found it difficult to speak. It had been a long time, and when he thought of the name Akira Kurosawa now, he no longer felt any sadness. It was just that, in front of a group of guys 2 or 3 years younger than him who had just graduated, he didn't know how to begin. After all, a 10-year acquaintance, a 7-year relationship, and a fiancé who cheated just a month or 2 before the wedding, it sounded like a rather tragic story. He didn't want to see looks of pity or sympathy on their faces. Those 10 or so seconds of silence made Ryohei Zhao sense something unusual. He skillfully changed the subject so that Kenji Tanaka wouldn't feel awkward. After the dinner party, Ryohei Zhao even came over specifically to apologize. "Kenji, I didn't mean anything by that earlier. I'm really sorry." Kenji Tanaka naturally understood he had no ill intentions and smiled, waving his hand to show it was fine. Back in his room, he opened his phone and logged into the Line account he had registered a month ago. Many friends had sent him continuous messages. He replied to them one by one, thanking them for their concern. One friend quickly replied to his message. "Ren, you just disappeared after going abroad. I was worried for a long time." Just by looking at the screen, Kenji Tanaka could imagine his friend's complaining tone. He sighed softly, quickly apologizing and letting him know he was safe. The two chatted about their recent lives until Kenji Tanaka unknowingly fell asleep. When he woke up the next day, he saw 99 messages from his friend and his eyes widened in surprise. After carefully reading them, he found that most of the messages were about Akira Kurosawa. "After you left, Akira Kurosawa often came to me asking for your whereabouts. Don't worry, I kept my lips sealed and didn't leak a single thing. Good thing you went to the bus station before the airport. She thinks you left Tokyo in an unlicensed taxi. Now she's searching for you all over the country. I heard Akira Kurosawa has been drinking heavily at bars lately. A few days ago, she was hospitalized for stomach bleeding from excessive drinking. Serves her right. She even went to see your parents, but you cut off contact with them long ago, so of course they knew nothing." Seeing these messages related to Akira Kurosawa again, Kenji Tanaka felt nothing inside. He opened the curtains and looked out at the clear river in the distance, his mind filled with a myriad of thoughts. When he was 12, his parents divorced and each remarried, neither wanting him. They left him with his grandmother, who lived alone. When he was 17, his grandmother passed away, leaving him as the only person on the family register. At 18, he agreed to be with Akira Kurosawa. She had promised to give him a home. He believed her words and waited for her for 7 years. What he got in the end was a ridiculous lie about amnesia and the reality of betrayal. The happiness he once held firmly had turned to dust, and he still had to play along with Akira Kurosawa's charade. Recalling those long 30 days, Kenji Tanaka still felt a chill run down his spine. Fortunately, it was all in the past now. He pulled open the curtains, and the warm sunlight streamed in, dispelling the chill from his body. His 8 o'clock alarm went off. He changed his clothes, grabbed his bag, and went to school with Ryo Hijao. The new student orientation was held in the auditorium. He sat among a group of energetic young people, listening to the president's speech, and the feeling of unreality gradually faded. The future belonging to Kenji Tanaka had already begun. When Akira Kurosawa woke up, she smelled the pungent scent of disinfectant. The after effects of the alcohol still lingered. She felt dizzy, and her stomach was heavy, sour, and faintly aching. She looked around blankly as her consciousness gradually returned. The Kurosawa family saw that she was awake, and although they were relieved, their faces remained grim.
Are you going to keep making a scene and acting like you're going to die for a man? When will this end?
Several friends also gathered around, earnestly trying to persuade her. Ren has been gone for a month without any news. He's clearly doing it on purpose. Akira, just let it go. Yeah, you can have any man you want. Why do you have to hang yourself on this one tree? Akira Kurosawa had heard these words countless times this month. She had never truly listened, and now she just let them go in one ear and out the other. Her red, swollen eyes were vacant, her lips were sealed shut, and her pale face showed only determination. Seeing her in this self-destructive state, Mr. Kurosawa finally couldn't hold back his anger. You are the only daughter of the Kurosawa family, responsible for the future of the Kurosawa group. Wallowing in romance day after day, what have you become? This is my final warning to you. I have already chosen a new groom, and you must attend the wedding in 5 days. If you continue to be so foolish, you can stop using the Kurosawa name. With that, Mr. Kurosawa didn't even spare her another glance and stormed out of the room in a rage. The room immediately fell silent. Seeing the others frozen in fear, Akira Kurosawa struggled to sit up, her voice hoarse and weary. Who has the old man set his sights on? Shogo Ju, the third son of the Ju family. The Ju family, Akira Kurosawa snorted contemptuously, a hint of coldness in her eyes. Go tell him that no one can make decisions about my marriage for me. If he knows what's good for him, he'll withdraw from the engagement voluntarily. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Just from hearing Akira Kurosawa's tone, her friends knew she would absolutely not let this go, but thinking of the furious Mr. Kurosawa from moments ago, they could only bite the bullet and try to persuade her. Marriage was originally a transaction. Mr. Kurosawa had given his ultimatum, and the Ju family was not to be trifled with. Maybe it was best to let it go. Yeah, the invitations have already been sent out. The arrow is already on the bowstring. Whether the groom is changed or not, even if Ren Fujiwara comes back, his family background is no longer a match. Akira Kurosawa never expected that these friends she grew up with would say such harsh things. Her face suddenly turned ice cold, and she shot them a chilling glare. If you dare say something like that again, get out. My husband will only ever be Ren Fujiwara. I don't care if it's the Ju family, the Xie family, or the Ito family, I won't marry any of them. Seeing her so resolute, the others didn't dare to add fuel to the fire. They silently shut their mouths and quietly left. Only Akira Kurosawa was left in the hospital room. As the sound of footsteps and voices faded away, she closed her eyes, and countless memories flooded her mind. Every day before going out, Ren Fujiwara would carefully select a coat for her and gently kiss her lips. When she was sick, he would be worried to tears, bringing her hot medicinal soup, the surprises he meticulously prepared for their anniversaries, and the promise to stay together year after year. Those small things she once took for granted had now become unattainable luxuries. Looking at the latest message from her secretary, there was still no news of Ren Fujiwara. Akira Kurosawa's heart ached once again. She clutched the discarded phone as if it were her last glimmer of hope. Akira, we spoke with Shogo Ju. He said the marriage was arranged by his parents, and he will follow their wishes. He refuses to break off the engagement. What should we do? Hearing this news, Akira Kurosawa's heart sank, and a vicious glint flashed in her eyes. Since he doesn't know what's good for him, we'll just have to wait and see. Hearing her tone, a chill ran down her sister's spines. The Ju family is a famous and powerful family in Tokyo, Akira. What are you planning to do? Please don't do anything rash. Akira Kurosawa glanced at them but didn't answer, changing the subject instead. Where's Yuki Aida? Her sisters had momentarily forgotten about him and exchanged blank looks. I am not sure. We'll have to ask Mr. Mori, I guess. Just as they were about to make a call, Akira Kurosawa, who was seething with pent-up anger, stopped them and decided to go see for herself. The group followed her to her private suite. As soon as they sat down, a man named Morita came in with drinks and people, his face full of sycophantic flattery toward Akira Kurosawa. Miss Kurosawa, I've brought the person you asked for. Please take a look. With that, he pushed the person hiding behind him forward. Yuki Aida was skin and bones, the exposed skin on his arms and legs covered in bruises. He trembled all over, not daring to look up at anyone, his voice filled with fear. Miss Kurosawa, hello. Seeing the once dashingly handsome man reduced to this state after just a month, everyone in the room was shocked. Only Akira Kurosawa remained expressionless. She stared intently at the man before her, a flicker of disgust in her hate-filled eyes. Don't you love seducing women and climbing the social ladder? Have you managed to snag any rich old women this past month? Hearing this familiar voice again, a chill rose in Yuki Aida's heart. He thought of the past month, of the scars those women had left on his body to satisfy their strange fetishes, and he shook his head and backed away, his voice becoming shrill. No, I don't want anything anymore. Miss Kurosawa, please let me go. I'm begging you. Yuki Aida cried and pleaded, kneeling on the ground and repeatedly kowtowing. Akira Kurosawa was completely unmoved. She watched the crimson blood seeping from his forehead, and her hands, clasped on her knees, suddenly tightened. Let you go? If it weren't for you, how would Ren have left? How would I be forced to marry a stranger? Everything you're suffering now is just penance for the sins you've committed. Days of torture had pushed Yuki Aida to the brink of a mental breakdown. He clutched his chest and screamed out the resentment he had suppressed in his heart. He didn't leave because of me, he left because of you. Even if I hadn't sent him those videos, he would have found out about you cheating and would have chosen to leave anyway. The entire room fell silent at these words. Enraged, Akira Kurosawa grabbed his jaw, her eyes practically spewing fire. What did you say? I said you're reaping what you sow. You can't control your own body, so why are you blaming me for everything? No wonder Ren Fujiwara dumped you. Yuki Aida's desperate taunts hit Akira Kurosawa where it hurt most. She could no longer control herself. Raising her hand and striking him hard, the man's painful and desperate cries echoed throughout the room. After an unknown amount of time, Akira Kurosawa slowly stopped, casually pulled out a few tissues to wipe the blood from her hands, and then turned and left the room, leaving only a single, cold sentence hanging in the air. For those who show no remorse, we have no need for mercy. Her words carried a tone of finality. Time flew by, and soon it was the day of the highly anticipated wedding. The media had received news months ago that Akira Kurosawa was getting married, but the groom's identity had remained a mystery until recently. The news that the Kurosawa family was allying with a son of the Jew family caused a huge sensation in social circles. Therefore, as the wedding bells were about to ring, a large crowd of reporters and paparazzi had already gathered outside the hotel, all hoping to be the first to report on this grand event. Some even disguised themselves to sneak in and started live streaming from the scene. Soon, the topic Kurosawa Jew wedding of the century topped the trending charts, attracting countless eyes. At noon, the wedding ceremony officially began. The groom was already on stage, but the bride was nowhere to be found. At first, the MC was able to maintain order, but as the minutes ticked by and Akira Kurosawa still hadn't appeared, he too began to feel overwhelmed. The few insiders present began to whisper among themselves, talking about the secret of the groom being replaced a month before the wedding. This news quickly spread throughout the venue. The Kurosawa family on stage were as anxious as ants on a hot pan, searching everywhere for Akira the Jew family. Hearing these discussions, their faces turned ashen, finally erupted. If she's so unwilling, then let's just call off this wedding. Before the words had even faded, the grand doors of the banquet hall slowly opened. Akira Kurosawa, dressed in a pristine white wedding gown, appeared gracefully before the crowd, looking more vibrant than ever. She had regained her former rebellious charm, her tone tinged with a hint of playfulness. Who said I'm not getting married? Hearing this, the Kurosawa and Jew families managed to calm their anger slightly. The MC also took the opportunity to ease the tension, and the atmosphere in the room gradually returned to normal under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Akira Kurosawa walked towards the tuxedo-clad Shogo Jew, looking at the happy smile on his face. A flash of cold indifference crossed her eyes. When the ceremony reached the vow exchange and the MC asked the classic question, Akira Kurosawa took the microphone, surveyed the crowd, and her voice dripped with contempt. "I do not." These words were like a bomb, causing an uproar in the venue, and the live stream chat was flooded with various emoji reactions. The Kurosawa family was so angry their faces turned pale, but Akira Kurosawa seemed not to hear. She faced the crowd, who were holding up their phones to live stream. "I, Akira Kurosawa, will marry no one but Ren Fujiwara in this lifetime. Ren, did you hear me? No matter where you're hiding, no matter what you're doing, I just want you to know that I will find you. Do you remember you promised to be with me forever? I said I would only love you for the rest of my life, and that will never change." A minute later, the topic's who is Ren Fujiwara and Akira Kurosawa's epic love also shot to the top of the trending charts. The entire internet was buzzing, wondering who this mysterious man was that had captivated the heart of a Tokyo socialite. Mr. Kurosawa watched the completely out-of-control wedding and his in-laws storming off in a rage, his face as dark as the bottom of a pot. She could no longer contain herself, striding up to Akira Kurosawa and slapping her hard twice across the face. "You unfilial daughter." Akira Kurosawa, however, seemed not to feel the burning pain on her face. She let out a soft snort, wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and smiled at her furiously departing family, her eyes filled with indifference and defiance. After this farce ended, a few friends surrounded Akira Kurosawa as they got into the car, their voices filled with confusion. "Akira, there were many ways to avoid marrying Shogo-ju. Why did you have to announce it at the wedding? It's so embarrassing for the Ju family, and it made your father so angry." Akira Kurosawa took the ice pack a friend handed her and gently applied it to her swollen cheek. The long-suppressed emotions in her heart were finally released. "The bigger the scene, the more likely it is that Ren will know I'm looking for him, and netizens will help track him down. As long as I can get him back by my side, what's offending one Ju family?" In the end, everything she did was for Ren Fujiwara. Her friends fell into silence, unable to understand what charm this man held that made her so crazy. Akira Kurosawa took out the returned engagement ring, a gentle light glowing in her eyes. "Ever since I can remember, there have been many boys surrounding me, trying to win my favor. I never felt much for them, just enjoyed the feeling of being fawned over. It wasn't until I met Ren that I felt my heart race for the first time. You don't know, but when he was playing the piano on stage, it was like he was glowing. I just wanted to be by his side, to become the most important person in his life. He's someone who lacks a sense of security. It took me 3 years of chasing him to finally win his heart. In all the years we were together, he stood by me through thick and thin, always patient and gentle, encouraging me. No matter what difficulties I faced, just seeing him would make all my worries and pain disappear. To me, he has become an indispensable part of my life. I know my moment of foolishness hurt him deeply, which is why he left so quietly. I realize now the mistake I made. As long as he is willing to forgive me and let me return to his side, I am willing to face any hardship, even sacrifice my own life." Her words were filled with endless regret. Inside the car, long sighs rose and fell. Why not cherish it then, only to regret it now? Recalling their conversation in the private room 2 months ago, everyone was shocked to realize that those drunken jokes had unexpectedly become reality. The second son of the Ito family could at least find some clues while searching for his wife, but Ren Fujiwara seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth, disappearing without a trace. In over a month, they had used all their connections and searched every possible place, yet they still came up with nothing. How could a person disappear so completely without a trace under such a thorough search? This puzzle continued to haunt them. In his first week of the new semester, Kenji Tanaka gradually settled into campus life. He woke up on time for class, discussed academic issues with teachers and classmates, and spent his free time hanging out with friends. If his past life was like a turbulent sea, his current life was like a calm, deep lake. He enjoyed this rare peace and serenity, feeling relaxed in both mind and body. Friends would occasionally send him news and gossip, but he just treated it as a joke and paid it no mind. February 6th happened to be a Saturday. Kenji Tanaka slept in until 11. When he woke up and looked at the time on his phone, he felt like there was something he was supposed to do today, but he couldn't remember what it was, so he just had a casual lunch. After lunch, he went for a walk in the park with Ryo Hijao. When he got back, he saw a flood of messages on his line. His friends had all forwarded him the same link. He clicked on it and saw the names Akira Kurosawa and Ren Fujiwara. After watching the entire wedding video, he was at a loss for words and could only reply with a few ellipses. Immediately after, his friend sent a long string of complaints. Seriously, how can a disloyal woman like Akira Kurosawa be portrayed as a pure love warrior? It's disgusting. If I wasn't worried about exposing your location, I would have already revealed her true colors and let everyone see how fake she is. And she says she'll only marry you? That's hilarious. Did she forget so quickly that she kicked you out of your home? And she says she'll definitely find you? She should stay far away from you. It's such bad luck to be entangled with her. Seeing these complaints, Kenji Tanaka finally remembered why he felt like he had something to do this morning. It turned out today was the day he was supposed to get married. Thinking about it, he couldn't help but laugh. Ryohei Jiao, who was next to him, saw this and curiously leaned over. Kenji, what's so funny? Kenji Tanaka waved his hand. Nothing, just my friends discussing a trending topic on social media. The bride who caused a scene at her wedding. Ryohei Jiao had some recollection of it and mentioned it casually before opening social media. As soon as he refreshed the page, a new post popped up. The headline was #photo found of man Akira Kurosawa professed her love to. He clicked on the full-sized image and was about to show it to Kenji Tanaka when his eyes fell on the youthful ID photo, and he froze. The boy in the photo had neat hair and delicate features. The most striking thing was the mole under his eye, which gave him an air of cool indifference. Ryohei Jiao stared at this photo for a long time, then shifted his gaze to Kenji Tanaka's face. Kenji, you look so much like this guy from the trending topic. Even the mole is in the same place. Feeling his gaze, Kenji Tanaka looked up at him. What's wrong? After a moment of hesitation, Ryohei Jiao decided to be direct. Kenji, the media back home found a photo of the guy the bride confessed to. He looks a bit like you. Do you know him? Kenji Tanaka's expression froze. He now understood why Akira Kurosawa had made such a huge scene. It was all to find his whereabouts. A strange feeling washed over him. He lowered his head to look at the screen Ryohei Jiao was holding out, his brow slightly furrowed. It was his high school ID photo. He had no idea who could have leaked it. Although 7 or 8 years had passed and he had gained some weight, anyone could tell at a glance that it was him. Otherwise, Ryohei Jiao wouldn't have asked. The room was quiet for a moment. Kenji Tanaka thought it over and finally decided to admit it. That's me. Akira Kurosawa is my ex-girlfriend. After we broke up, I changed my name and moved abroad. Hearing such gossip out of the blue, Ryohei Jiao's eyes widened in shock. What? If you broke up, why would she do this? Isn't this disrupting your life? Kenji Tanaka nodded slightly, a bit helpless. I moved abroad. That should be enough to avoid this trouble, right? Ryohei Jiao's expression looked a bit heavy. The way she's acting, it seems like she wants to find you and keep harassing you. With this much media attention, people at school might recognize you. What will you do then? This was also Kenji Tanaka's biggest worry. Seeing Ryohei Jiao genuinely concerned for him, Kenji Tanaka managed a faint smile. Don't worry, she doesn't know I changed my name, nor that I'm abroad. If it comes to it, I'll just wear a mask when I go out for the next few days and cover up well. I guess that's the only way, Ryohei Jiao said with a helpless nod, pulling out his own hat and handing it to Kenji Tanaka. Take this when you go out. It'll help cover you up, and it's good for sun protection too. Kenji Tanaka took the hat and, trying to ease the tension, made a joke. It's just an ex-girlfriend. No need to be so nervous. Akira Kurosawa going crazy at such an important event, she's clearly not normal. There have been so many news stories recently about ex-boyfriends being targeted in revenge attacks out of love turned hate. Kenji, I'm really worried she'll get entangled with you and something bad will happen. Hearing this young man, whom he had known for just over a month, care so much about him, Kenji Tanaka felt a warmth in his heart. We were together for 7 years. Even though she did a lot of things to hurt me, she probably wouldn't go to such extremes. Don't worry. Although he said it with a smile, Ryohei Jiao remembered his silence when they had talked about ex-girlfriends a few days ago and guessed that this relationship had caused him significant pain. He didn't know how to comfort him and could only manage a few words. It will all pass, Kenji. You've already moved on. Just look forward. Seeing the determined look in Kenji Tanaka's eyes, Ryohei Jiao's anxiety slowly dissipated. That's right. The agonizing 30 days are over. What else is there to worry about? The day after the wedding, the Kurosa family announced that all of Akira Kurosa's duties at the Kurosa Group were temporarily suspended. The Ju family also announced the termination of all 3 ongoing projects with the Kurosa family. Everyone in their social circle was discussing the significant trouble Akira Kurosa had caused this time. Netizens, however, were moved by her deep love that disregarded all consequences and felt great sympathy for her. Their high school and university classmates also publicly shared stories of their romance at school, and in no time, the number of fans shipping her and Ren Fujiwara skyrocketed. Amidst the rumors, besides discussing their relationship, people also dug into their current situation. After learning that the two were currently broken up, everyone started analyzing the reasons for the split. Some cited class differences, others family pressure, and still others the 7-year itch. Just as opinions were flying, a friend of the other involved party, Shogo Ju, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly revealed some inside information. It was said that the original couple for this wedding was supposed to be Akira Kurosa and Ren Fujiwara. After their engagement, Akira Kurosa was in a car accident and suffered from amnesia, forgetting only Ren Fujiwara. During those 2 months, she separated from Ren Fujiwara and fell for another man. Heartbroken, Ren Fujiwara left for good. Then, Akira Kurosa regained her memory but couldn't find him. Although this rumor was never verified, it spread far and wide. A story of deep love began to splinter into various directions. All the onlookers were hoping that one of the protagonists of this 4-sided love affair would come forward to talk about it, but the 2 families who had a falling out at the wedding were too prominent to pay any attention. Everyone could only pin their hopes on the missing Ren Fujiwara and the other man. His close friends often forwarded these heated discussions to Kenji Tanaka. He, however, just read them as a joke and rarely responded. His brother had asked him several times why he remained silent when he was the one who was hurt. Kenji Tanaka pondered this for a long time before finally sharing the thoughts he had kept hidden in his heart. Before I knew the truth, when Akira Kurosa was faking amnesia and pushing me away again and again, I did waver and consider giving up on the relationship. But whenever I thought about giving up, I would always remember the time she fought off a few knife-wielding thugs to protect me. I was genuinely moved by her back then, which is why I let my guard down and agreed to be with her. She was also wholeheartedly devoted to me all these years, and the car accident and amnesia were just an unfortunate incident. If I were to leave because of these random events, wouldn't that be too unfair to Akira Kurosa? She could pursue me for 3 years, yet I couldn't even last a month. It seemed so heartless. Holding on to that thought, I managed to endure. But just as my resolve to wait for her to regain her memory grew stronger, I found out it was all a sham. I was in pain for a long time, unable to understand how all her sincerity and love, which were so clearly displayed and which I could feel so distinctly, had suddenly vanished. Had it vanished? Was her past concern for me all fake? Then how could she have acted for so long? I just couldn't figure it out. It wasn't until the day I left Tokyo, while clearing out my phone, that I came across a quote I had saved a long time ago: "Never doubt sincerity, but sincerity itself is ever changing." At that moment, I truly let go. It's like my parents, when they got married, they both thought they had found the person they would grow old with, but after just a few years, their hearts drifted apart. Akira Kurosa is the same. When she loved me, she could keep her distance from other men just to make me feel secure. But once the love is gone, it's really gone. Even though she set a 2-month period of freedom and promised she would come back to me, it couldn't hide the fact that her heart was already broken. Everything in the world has an expiration date, and love is no exception. I am willing to accept this ending, to let her be free, and to free myself. As for those painful memories, let them disappear along with those 7 years. This was the first time his friend had heard Kenji Tanaka speakly about the matter since finding out about it a month ago. He had thought Kenji was silent because he couldn't let go, but after reading this long message, he realized that Kenji had truly moved on. The weight that had been on his heart for so long finally lifted. Ren, you're right. It's just a failed first love. When it's over, it's over. There's no need to dwell on it. Why waste more time on her when you could be sleeping more or getting out more? Seeing that his friend could understand his thoughts, Kenji Tanaka also felt a sense of relief. He was just about to share some of the Western food he had eaten recently when another message from his friend came through. Actually, I have one more question for you, Ren. Answer if you want, but if you don't want to, that's fine too. After ending this relationship, have you completely lost faith in love? Looking at this line of text on the screen, a glint appeared in Kenji Tanaka's eyes. He looked up at the couples holding hands outside the window. 18 and 19-year-old boys and girls strolled under the sun, stepping on each other's shadows. Couples in their early 30s pushed strollers, their faces weary but smiling. Elderly couples with white hair supported each other as they walked leisurely. As far as he could see, countless people were still exchanging their hearts, believing in eternity. Was it love that had disappointed him? No. It was just one person. So why should he blame love for one person's mistake? Of course not. What I lost was Akira Kurosawa's love, not the love of the entire world. I have you, I have my friends, I have my roommate, and my grandmother who is in heaven. You all still love me. I will meet many people in the future and experience many unpredictable things. Why should I give up the whole forest for a single tree? This was Kenji Tanaka's answer to his friend, and it was also the answer he gave himself after letting go. In the 10 years he was entangled with Akira Kurosawa, the anger and pain that had festered in his heart for years due to his family background were all dispelled by her obvious favoritism. He shed his stubborn and solitary personality and learned how to love others, compared to the ending of being deceived and hurt. Isn't this reshaped, firm, and mature self more worthy of commemoration? After thinking everything through, Kenji Tanaka felt a weight lift from his entire body. He got up and left the coffee shop, went to the supermarket, and bought a lot of ingredients. After being busy in the kitchen for over an hour, 3 dishes were on the table just as Ryohei Jiao got home. Smelling the fragrant braised pork ribs, he bounded into the kitchen, washed his hands, and helped set the table. Kenji, coming home to a meal you cooked is just the best. Having you here to eat with me makes me very happy too. After they both sat down, Kenji Tanaka piled a lot of meat into his bowl, his eyes curving into crescents as he smiled. Ryohei Jiao chatted about the interesting things he encountered today while gnawing on a bone, creating a cheerful atmosphere at the dinner table. After eating, he volunteered to do the dishes. Kenji Tanaka was happy to relax and lay on the sofa playing a game. After cleaning up the kitchen, Ryohei Jiao came out with a plate of fruit, his voice full of joy. Kenji, my parents are coming to visit me in a couple of days. When are they coming? I can go with you to the airport to pick them up. Around the 8th. They want to spend the new year here. Since you're not going back to Japan anyway, why don't you join us? The more, the merrier. Kenji Tanaka initially felt it would be an intrusion, but seeing the expectant look on his face, he hesitated. Seeing him soften, Ryohei Jiao took his hand and even laid out a full itinerary. Let's go to Hosier Lane, then to the Yarra River. 50 days after Ren Fujiwara disappeared, Akira Kurosawa still had no leads on his whereabouts. The gossip about them was rampant online, but it all focused on their past entanglements. No one had managed to uncover Ren Fujiwara's location. Akira Kurosawa's firm resolve to find him was worn down by the relentless passage of time. She increasingly dreaded returning to that empty villa, no longer wanted to open the messages from her secretary, and would now even fly into a rage at the mere mention of Ren Fujiwara's name. The Kurosawa family had cut off all her cards, so she couldn't fill the void in her panicked heart with extravagant spending as she used to. Her sisters had also lost hope, all advising her to let go of Ren Fujiwara and make peace with her families. Akira Kurosawa, in her 24 years of life, had never suffered such a blow. I can't just give up like this. Ren must be waiting for me somewhere, she murmured to herself, a flicker of determination in her eyes. She drank all day, and when she was drunk, she would smash things, crying her heart out, screaming Ren Fujiwara's name, and endlessly repenting. But alcohol could only temporarily numb her senses. When she woke up, she was faced with the same bleak and grim reality. Under daily torment, She was no longer the spirited and confident person she used to be. On New Year's Eve, Akira Kurosawa was drinking alone in a bar. She ignored several calls from her mother, eventually just turning off her phone. "Mom, I don't want to talk right now," she said, her voice laced with exhaustion. When she stumbled back to the villa in a drunken stupor around midnight, she thought of Ren Fujiwara again. In previous years, after having a reunion dinner at home on New Year's Eve, she would go to the villa to be with him. He would have cut out paper window decorations and cooked a table full of delicious food, and they would welcome the new year together. The two would cuddle on the sofa, watching the fireworks light up the sky outside the window, making wishes to be together every year. Now, the fireworks were exploding again, but the only things keeping her company were the empty bottles on the floor. Through the window, Akira Kurosawa looked out at the lively scene outside, and an boundless sense of loneliness enveloped her heart. "Ren Fujiwara, where on earth are you?" she whispered softly, tears silently streaming down her face. After the clock struck midnight, she turned on her phone and sent a New Year's greeting to Ren Fujiwara. Ding dong. The phone she had placed on the table chimed. She picked up Ren Fujiwara's phone, tapped on the little red notification dot, and sent herself another Happy New Year. Seeing the blessing from that familiar profile picture, the pain in Akira Kurosawa's heart was finally eased. Just for a moment now, she could only rely on this self-directed charade of greetings for comfort. As she was mocking herself, a friend suddenly called. She answered, ready to chew them out, but instead heard news she couldn't accept. "Akira, something's happened. Old man Mori just sent a message saying your parents went to his place and took Yuki Aida away." The alcohol instantly sobered Akira Kurosawa up. She ran downstairs and hailed a cab. It was already 1 in the morning when she arrived home, but the old family house was brightly lit everywhere. As she pushed open the door, she saw her father sitting in the seat of honor, his face cold as he looked over, clearly very angry. "You still know how to come back." Akira Kurosawa was in no mood to argue with him about this, her eyes scanning the room. "Where's Yuki Aida?" At the mention of this name, her father's expression grew even uglier. Her mother, fearing they would start fighting again, quickly pulled her daughter upstairs. "He's at the hospital. The doctors say he's not going to make it. If this continues, something bad will definitely happen, so we brought him out." All the blood in Akira Kurosawa's body rushed to her head. She grabbed the railing for support and instinctively denied it. "Impossible. I never ordered anyone to kill him. He must be playing pitiful," she said with such conviction that her mother began to waver, speaking hesitantly. "But the wounds on his body don't look fake. Daughter, have you been feeling unwell lately?" Hearing this, Akira Kurosawa completely broke down. She knew, given Yuki Aida's character, he would absolutely not try to contact her parents again unless he was completely certain of his plan. He had been tortured at Morita's place for nearly 2 months. This was his only chance to escape. Although he couldn't return to the Kurosawa family, he had at least made it into a presidential suite at the hospital. With all his needs taken care of, Akira Kurosawa couldn't accept this outcome, yet she couldn't defy her parents, so she could only take her anger out on her friends. Just when she was at her lowest, someone suddenly brought news of Ren Fujiwara. A friend from her circle who was studying abroad in Melbourne mentioned at a gathering that he had seen someone at school who looked a lot like Ren Fujiwara. This news re-energized Akira Kurosawa completely. She immediately booked a flight to Melbourne and was ready to leave. But her friends held her back, pouring cold water on her plans. "Akira, now that you've found him, he's not going anywhere. The urgent matter right now is Yuki Aida. If this isn't resolved, even if Ren forgives you, he will never come back with you once he finds out about Yuki." It was a wake-up call. The bit of relief Akira Kurosawa had just felt was replaced by anxiety. She suppressed her elation and forced herself to calm down. Her close friends gathered together, brainstorming ideas for her. She stopped pacing, realizing that none of their suggestions were helpful, and finally decided to take matters into her own hands. Akira Kurosawa went straight to the hospital. The security guard at the entrance, mistaking her for a troublemaker, immediately blocked her way. She called her mother's phone, and after making it clear she meant no harm, she was allowed to pass. Bang! The closed door was pushed open. Yuki Aida heard the noise, looked up, and the smile on his face was instantly replaced by terror. He stumbled to his feet, trying to back away, his voice trembling. What are you doing here? I'm really going to die." Seeing Yuki Aida in such a sickly state, Akira Kurosawa felt no interest whatsoever. She slowly walked towards him, cornering him with every step she took. The excitement in her heart grew. It was as if she wasn't approaching Yuki Aida, but the distant Ren Fujiwara. Yuki Aida, you schemed and plotted all of this just to get ahead, didn't you? But I can tell you clearly today, as long as I'm alive, you will never have a chance in this lifetime. Watching her advance, Yuki Aida felt as if his nightmare had returned. He tearfully took out his phone, wanting to call the Kurosawa family, but before he could even press the dial button, Akira Kurosawa snatched the phone and threw it out the window. A sharp cry echoed through the room. Remembering the guards outside, Akira Kurosawa quickly covered his mouth, dragged him into the inner room, and closed the door. Yuki Aida was powerless to resist. He slammed heavily against the wall, a sharp pain shooting through his entire body. If you don't leave this city, don't blame me for being ruthless. Yuki Aida broke down on the spot. The humiliation he suffered in the dark room, the pain of new wounds on top of old ones, the glimmer of hope he had gained through careful hiding, all the pain he had endured over the past 2 months, and the despair of his hope being shattered at this moment, became the final straw that broke Yuki Aida. He looked up at the woman before him, his eyes filled with a hatred so intense it seemed they would bleed. This naked hatred, in the eyes of the already unhinged Akira Kurosawa, was more like a stimulant. A thrill spread along her spine. She looked at her blood-stained hands, the smile on her lips widening. You hate me? What right do you have to hate me? You brought all of this on yourself. This sentence completely plunged Yuki Aida into an endless abyss. She was completely consumed by the flames of hatred, and in her chaotic mind, only one thought remained. Let's go to hell together. With her last reservation gone, Akira Kurosawa no longer paid any mind to Yuki Aida. She rose indifferently, pulled a tissue from the table, and slowly wiped her hands. She was completely calm, as if the messy scene had nothing to do with her. After wiping her hands clean, Akira Kurosawa glanced at her watch. 11 o'clock in the morning. She still had 3 hours until her 2 o'clock flight. There was no need for her to linger. She was about to leave, just as she took a step, a sharp pain shot through her calf. She fell to her knees, her face contorted as she looked to the side, only to see the utterly crazed Yuki Aida. He pulled out the fruit knife embedded in his body, blood splattering and staining his emaciated face crimson. The thick smell of blood in the air stimulated his nerves. His eyes could only see the woman who had completely destroyed his life. This was the last, and only, chance for revenge. Yuki Aida was exceptionally clear-headed. He raised the knife high and, without a second thought, stabbed at Akira Kurosawa. One desperate scream after another echoed through the room. The sharp shriek slowly faded into whimpers, and finally, only the difficult gasps from a constricted throat remained. Akira Kurosawa's pupils slowly dilated, and her clenched fists unconsciously relaxed. Yuki Aida had also exhausted all his strength, and the weapon in his hand fell to the floor with a clatter. Their blood mingled together, seeping across the smooth floor. It was like a dark red river. The second hand on the wall clock continued to tick. Akira Kurosawa's consciousness slowly blurred, and the unbearable sharp pain gradually faded. She felt as if she had fallen into a cloud, her whole body light and airy. The surrounding sounds all ceased, leaving only a faint electrical hum. Her eyelids grew heavy, and the scene before her gradually became mottled, leaving only flickering black and white images. And the silence. Past events replayed in her mind like a revolving lantern, from a carefree childhood, to the budding love of her teenage years, to the unremarkable present moment. Parents, friends, classmates, teachers, strangers, all appeared in turn. In all the black and white scenes, only one person was in color. 16-year-old Ren Fujiwara. Ren stood under the soft light, wearing a pristine white shirt, quietly playing the piano. 18-year-old Ren stood by her bedside, tears streaming down his face, tightly holding her hand. 23-year-old Ren, with tears glistening in his eyes, accepted a bouquet of vibrant red roses and nodded, agreeing to be her partner. 24-year-old Ren, holding an umbrella, walked into the pouring rain, his expression blurred by the downpour. Akira Kurosawa watched that gradually disappearing back, and the taut string inside her suddenly snapped. She felt something being drawn out from within her body. She didn't want it to leave, but she was powerless to stop its departure. Was it love, or hope, or perhaps life? Akira Kurosawa herself couldn't say for sure, or more accurately, she had already lost the ability to think. A coldness enveloped her, and she could feel the blood under her skin gradually turning icy. Only the tears at the corners of her eyes still held a trace of warmth. Celebrating the new year in the middle of summer was a novel experience for Kenji Tanaka and Ryohei Zhao. His parents had brought many things from Japan, and the two young men were busy in the living room, putting up couplets and paper-cut window decorations. Seeing the festive atmosphere in the house, Kenji Tanaka felt the spirit of the new year for the first time in many years, ever since his grandmother passed away. He had always spent New Year's Eve alone, although Akira Kurosawa would come to keep him company. It was always late in the evening. Before 8 o'clock, he was always by himself. All he felt was a loneliness made more intense by the clamor of the outside world. He had thought that things would change after getting married in the new year. He never expected that the wedding wouldn't happen, but he would instead spend a new year with company. Ryohei's mother, busy in the kitchen, brought out a plate of freshly fried meatballs and crispy pork, smiling as she asked him to taste them, her voice full of warmth and affection. "Kenji, this is Ryohei's favorite dish. Try my cooking and see if you like it." Kenji Tanaka took a piece to try, but before he could say anything, Ryohei Zhao, who was putting up window decorations, rushed over, his mouth open, waiting to be fed. Kenji Tanaka picked up a small piece of crispy pork and was about to blow on it to cool it down before feeding it to him, but he impatiently took a bite. Seeing him fumbling around from the heat, Kenji Tanaka quickly went to pour a glass of water. By the time he returned, Ryohei's mother was laughing uncontrollably, her arm around his shoulder. "Don't spoil him too much. All he thinks about all day is eating. I don't know what he's in such a hurry for." Ryohei Zhao gasped for air while drinking water, then looked at Kenji Tanaka with a blaming expression. "What do you mean spoiled? We're like real brothers." His childish demeanor made Kenji Tanaka burst out laughing. He suppressed his laughter and nodded repeatedly in agreement. With his mother's support, Ryohei Zhao became even more smug. "Kenji, if you don't mind, why don't you just accept me as your sworn younger brother? I can do the dishes, I can make you happy, and I can go shopping with you. We're a perfect match." Ryohei Zhao said with a wink, and Kenji Tanaka finally couldn't hold back his laughter. Ryohei's mother lightly tapped her son's forehead and tutted. "Do you really want to be a younger brother, or do you just want a legitimate excuse to freeload off Kenji's cooking?" "What freeloading? I'm being sincere, without any ulterior motives. Mom, don't misunderstand me." After righteously defending himself, Ryohei Zhao grabbed Kenji Tanaka's arm and pleaded again. "Please agree, Kenji. Then I can just call you or big brother from now on. It's so much more convenient." It wasn't a big deal, and Kenji Tanaka had a soft heart, so he naturally agreed. Seeing him nod, Ryohei Zhao was so happy he was practically walking on air, jumping around excitedly. Ryohei's father came out with a plate of fish, protecting the dish while affirming the decision. "That's great. You two are close in age and get along well. You can look out for each other abroad, which will put us parents at ease. It's just that Ryohei is younger, Kenji, so I'll have to trouble you to look after him more." Ryohei's mother also looked at the two with great joy, her delight overflowing. "I had this idea the first time I met Kenji, I was just too shy to say it. Now that Kenji has agreed, I won't hold back either. Here, this is a New Year's gift for you two brothers. Take it." With that, Ryohei's mother took out 2 gift boxes from her pocket. Opening them revealed 2 identical gold bracelets. Kenji Tanaka was stunned. He didn't dare to accept such a valuable gift, but Ryohei's mother and son were insistent, putting it on his wrist directly and repeatedly persuading him. "It's a small gift, just to add some festive cheer. Kenji, don't feel burdened. That's right, we're all family now. Isn't it normal for brothers to wear matching bracelets? Please accept it. Kenji, if you feel uncomfortable about it, just teach this mischievous little guy a few more things." Under the combined persuasion of the Zhao family, Kenji Tanaka finally accepted the heartfelt gift. At the same time, he also gave one of the jade bracelets his grandmother had left him to Ryohei Zhao. Gold and jade clinked together, making a crisp sound. The two looked at each other and smiled, raising their glasses to toast with their elders. The new year came again, and for the next 2 years, Kenji Tanaka spent them in Australia every year. Ryohei Zhao's parents would come to celebrate with them. Over time, their relationship grew even closer. In his graduation year, the Zhao family decided to settle in Melbourne. Ryohei Zhao asked him if he had any plans to stay. This was a question Kenji Tanaka had also considered deeply. His friends back in Japan were all married. his relationship with his parents had long been distant, and he had no property there. From the perspective of personal relationships and career focus, he was more inclined to stay. So, he began looking for a job while preparing his immigration documents. The Zhao family provided him with a great deal of help during this period, allowing him to smoothly overcome the challenges. While studying, he had saved a considerable amount of money through his own efforts, and after graduation, he opened a small photography studio. 2 years later, the studio's scale continued to expand and gradually took off. 4 years later, Kenji Tanaka met the immigration requirements and successfully applied for permanent residency. When he returned to Japan to handle the paperwork, he reunited with friends he hadn't seen in years. Time had flown by, and none of them were teenagers anymore, but whenever they got together, they could still find that old feeling of being able to talk about anything. What everyone was most curious about was his love life. Faced with his friend's curiosity, Kenji Tanaka responded candidly. I dated 2 people in the past 2 years, but we broke up for various reasons. My current girlfriend, I met her last August. She's 2 years younger than me, but she's very mature. As he recounted the little details of his relationship, he shared photos and videos. Seeing the loving couple on the screen, everyone smiled with relief. After chatting for a while, someone suddenly brought up Akira Kurosawa. Hey, have you guys heard? It seems Akira Kurosawa passed away. Hearing this news, Kenji Tanaka felt a jolt in his heart. Over the years, he had been busy with his studies and work, rarely paying attention to news from Japan. Occasionally, when reminiscing with Ryohei Zhao, that period of his life felt like a distant fog, indistinct and unclear. The name Akira Kurosawa also felt like a yellowed old photograph, carrying a sense of being dated. He had thought she would let go of that relationship, inherit the family business, and start a new life on the other side of the ocean. He never expected that she was already gone. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became heavy. Everyone carefully observed Kenji Tanaka's expression. Seeing only shock on his face, they all breathed a sigh of relief and continued chatting. I heard about that too. Ren, I was going to tell you, but then I thought you had already moved on, so I didn't want to bring up such a sad topic. What sad topic? I heard she tormented that guy with the surname Aida horribly, and in the end, he retaliated and stabbed her to death. I guess she reaped what she sowed. After so much time had passed, Kenji Tanaka couldn't even remember the man's name. His only impression of him was the car accident that nearly ruined his life. Hearing that these 2 people, who had completely changed the trajectory of his life, had met such an end, he couldn't help but feel a sense of melancholy. But even that feeling of being lost in thought was just a fleeting moment. After all, those people and events were from a long time ago, like a gust of wind blowing through a hall. Once it passed, it left no trace.